Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We have the votes once the impeachment trial has begun to pass a resolution essentially the same, very similar to the 100-0 vote in the Clinton trial.
Not good enough. For all the talk of Iran, and we'll get to that in a little bit, the insanity of the impeachment is still hanging out there because nothing's going on, right? Shows you the short attention span of those in power. Let's go back like 6.5, 7, 8 months ago. It was immigration, right? Concentration camps. You know, this is the second coming of Hitler with the way these camps are set up, and people are freaking out. You're getting all kinds. I mean, it's just nuts, right? Then they go on vacation because, remember, before that, you had Russia. And then, okay, now it's immigration. And then it came back. It's Ukraine. Oh, my God, we got to do the articles of speech was huge. Oh, my God, we're all going to vacation. Then all of a sudden, it's Iran. They come back and they're like, hey, do you remember those articles of impeachment? Yeah, she still got them. What are they going to do? The battle's going on right now with trying to figure out what to do because Nancy wants to wield power in the Senate and have more of a control and a say of what goes on there. And Mitch came out earlier this week and said, you guys had your chance. That was what happened in Congress. They had their chance. It's now. It's his turn and the Republicans' turn to lead on this.
What's good for President Clinton is good for President Trump. We'll get around to the discussion of witnesses. We got around to the discussion of witnesses after we got through phase 1 20 years ago.
Yeah. So it's going to happen. They're going to get through, and then we'll go from there. But it's still not gone anywhere. You know, Trump was out today giving one of his crazy impromptu, sitting there, let's have a chat.
It's a hoax. The impeachment is a big hoax. It's become a laughing stock all over the world. There was nothing done wrong. The 2 articles that were sent are not even serious. And by the way, they're not a crime.
Yeah, it's a hoax. And the other side, you've got Schumer doing what Schumer does, as he should.
Democrats believe that a fair trial means that all the relevant facts come out and witnesses and documents are part of that trial.
But they could have said the same thing in the Senate. The Republicans could have said, we could have called other people and brought other people, and you guys wanted to have your hand-picked list of people, and you did. Right? That's the reality of the way that this works. It shows you what this is truly about, which at the end of the day, it's still political. Right? It's still political. He ain't going to jail for this, even if they vote to remove him. He's not going to jail. He's taking him to jail. He ain't going to jail. This is politics right here. And with all of that going on, we still have Iran. And yes, what will they do? What will they do? Or what won't they do? Right? I mean, because, you saw a lot of our big Hollywood stars asking them to hold off. Right? Tomorrow, there's going to be an opportunity for everybody to sit down and really get debriefed in what it is. Mark Esper today was on with Christiana Amanpour, and he said it's not razor thin. This, now it could be, right? It could be razor thin, right? It might not be, but some people saw some stuff today, and tomorrow the Senate's going to have a real chance to take a look at everything.
The exquisite intelligence that we're talking about that led to the decision that was, I should say, one of the factors that led to the decision to strike at Soleimani is only shared with a handful of members, the so-called Gang of Eight.
Yeah. That's the way it should be, right? And there may be nothing there, right? There may absolutely be nothing there, and this may be an absolute massive reach that is ridiculous, and people could go, look at this. Look at this right here. The Republicans will come out and try to defend it. There could be real stuff in here that points to a bad guy doing a bad thing and having other people who aren't fighting under a flag of a country do their terrorist bidding elsewhere. And he paid the price for it. And he's got the hands of many Americans, 600 plus, on top of hundreds and thousands of other people. And the Democrats won't come out and say that. So here's where it is. By the way, the world's not coming to an end. I know a lot of people freaking out about it. It's like, settle down, right? Settle down. It's not coming to an end. Everybody take a deep breath, right? This is an ugly situation. They asked Trump today about him coming out saying he'd go after their cultural areas. And he said,
I like to obey the law. But think of it. They kill our people. They blow up our people. Then we have to be very gentle with their cultural institutions. But I'm okay with it.
Yeah, because it's not about just them. Remember, when you attack one, they think you attack all. Even though there's a big divide between Sunnis and Shias, and for those of you guys who don't quite understand Sunni, it's very, so you have the groups are two. So the Sunni group is huge, but it's not centralized, right? It's like 1.6 billion, 200 million are Shias, and most of them are Iranian, Iraqi, Syria, Yemen, Lebanon. That's them. So they're centralized. It's all political. They broke up 1,400 years ago for politics. One thought, hey, the direct bloodline of Muhammad should be the next prophet. The next one said, no, we think it should be this over here. And then that's why they split up. There's a few other things, but a lot of it's just all politics more than it is religion, right? They all believe in one God. Allah's the true God. They all believe it. They read from the Quran, the whole 9 yards, but it is just the difference of how they believe who should follow Muhammad. And that's the battle that goes on there, right? But when you go and say you're going to do this, you're going to blow this up, you're going to do that is, I understand you're trying to be tough, and let's be real. You pointed it out there with the. At the end of the day, though, that's something you don't do, right? That's just something you don't do. So I think that would be an epic fail. Right? Now, if they were to do something horrific like kill tens of thousands of allied citizens who are not participating in any warfare whatsoever, or Americans, at some point in time, yes, there's always a line that you cross. But they've kind of come out and said it'll be like for like, military for military. So we'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Still ugly in Australia.
Finally, Mother Nature's cooperating, and that means an important time for firefighters to regroup. Out in the field, there's work to do. New South Wales Fire Commissioner Shane Fitzsimmons.
More consolidation, more containment, and putting these fires out will be the ultimate goal. But it really is about shoring up protection to limit the damage potential and the outbreak of these fires over the coming days.
In New South Wales alone, some 130 fires are still burning, around 60 of which are uncontrolled.
Yeah, massive. About 13 million square acres that have been, that they currently have right now. To put that in perspective, double the size of Maryland, bigger than New Jersey, Vermont, New Hampshire. That's how big it is. Millions upon millions of animals that have died. It is horrific, massive economic blow. And charges are now being filed because guess what?
As intense flames still scorch parts of Australia, at least 4 people are missing and at least 24 are dead. New South Wales police charging 24 people for allegedly setting some of these bushfires. An airline passenger spotting pyrocumulus clouds over the weekend, essentially fire-induced thunderstorms. Lightning from those storms starting new fires.
Yeah, ugly. And who said it? right? Like that's that. Why? Why did you set these? What was this about? Right? What was this an extinction thing that you wanted to bring about? Is it eco-terrorism? Is it what? I mean, is it terrorism? Is it? I mean, because you're not talking about somebody who started a fire and it got out of hand, and you're talking 24 people that set fires. That feels more than just something that was 24 people on that day who had no association with each other, that all happened to be arsons, picked those times to start a fire. I find odd. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text the program as well. By the way, there was a model. She's pretty hot, right, Phil? I mean, can we say that? She's pretty hot looking lady.
Yes, she was.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
She still is.
She still is, right? Yeah, she still is. She wanted to help out, right? She's a giver, right? Like that's the best way to describe her giving. And we're going to talk about what she was giving to help out the people of Australia in their battle with fires. Text the program. Love hearing from you. My Pillow. I'm giving you a deal on My Pillows. What are you waiting for? Go to mypillow.com. There's a new radio listener special. Click in code Benson. You're going to want to hear this. Amazing. They got all their stuff. First of all, like last night, I ended up first day back, meetings and all kinds of stuff. I ended up staying in a hotel, be home tonight onto my amazing mattress topper that's incredible. But one of the things I talk about is I got these towels, and I try to sit in my jacuzzi, 3-4 days a week when I have a chance. I take them with me now. They're incredible. Extra soft, super absorbent, 5 different choices as colors, 30 by 56 bath towels, 16 by 30 hand towels, and washcloths. Made in the USA, 100% USA cotton. What's that mean? No fillers, no cheap softeners. You're going to love it. 60-day money-back guarantee. Now's your chance. What are you waiting for? Jump on this huge savings. Go to mypillow.com, enter promo code Benson, save 30% off these amazing towels. mypillow.com. Promo code is Benson. There's a new radio listener special. Click right there or call 800-983-4975. 800-983-4975. Promo code Benson. She's a giver. We'll talk about it straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
I'm the daughter of a digger.
Yeah, you are.
Who sought the marble ore.
G'day.
The girl became a woman on the long and dusty road. I'm a child of the Depression. I saw the good times come. I'm a bushy, I'm a battler. I am Australian.
We are young. We are barely. I love that song. They're going through a massive fire. Everybody's doing everything they can. I urge you to do whatever you can. And if you're like Kaylin Ward, you can help out by raising money. For $10, the Instagram model and 20-year-old sex worker pledged to send nude photos to her followers and anyone who proved they could donate and did donate to charities benefiting the Australian brush fires. She raised $700,000. She also got kicked off. Instagram. Her boyfriend isn't talking to her, and her family has disowned her. But good eye, she's a giver. Wouldn't you say she's a giver, Phil?
God bless her, man.
God bless her. She's doing it because you know what? She is a giver because she is an Australian. We are Australian. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Hey, you know what? She's a giver, right? Like she did that. She wasn't the only one. right? She wasn't the only one. There were several others who pledged to do something similar, donating whatever they could, sex workers and stuff like that. Like everybody's doing their part, right? They are. They're doing their part. We've got many firefighters and fire personnel who've flown there to Australia to help out in any way they possibly can. I mean, it's all hands on deck for this. And then there's the weird thing that's happening in Australia, which is the culling that started today of 10,000 camels. They're killing 10,000 camels in Australia because they drink too much water. And you're like, oh my God, it's because of the fires. No, this was already planned. This was already planned. What's happening is in certain areas in Australia, because of the drought, there's still water, but these camels are a nuisance. So what they've done is they've gone into, in particular, in certain areas where there's a lot of Aboriginal native Australians, and they've destroyed their villages, all trying to get for water. That's all they're trying to do. So while this drought's going on, they said, look, we're going to start culling these camels because of what they're doing to neighborhoods and to little villages throughout because they're drinking too much water. So for 5 days, starting today, they're going to kill up to 10,000 camels. And I don't know what they're going to do with them. I don't know. I mean, if it's Sweden, I guess they should give it to one of the other zoo animals, but that's not this. And the camels have been around for a while there. They were introduced through India to Australia, and now there's so many of them. It's like kangaroos. A lot of these animals that are dying, you're like, oh, it's sad. But the koala, it's tough. Have you seen the koalas and the wombats and stuff like that? I mean, the koalas are looking for firefighters so they can get water and stuff like that. Plus, they eat eucalyptus, which is one of the reasons there aren't many predators out there because it's poisonous to everything but them. It's in the smell. It's tough. It's nasty. So, hey, if you can help out in any way, shape, or form like Kayla did, do it. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
So, it's what we're hearing right now. And again, over the next coming days and weeks with the whole thing with Iran, there's going to be situations that take place, and you think, is that Iran attacking us in certain areas, in an area? Or is that just other fighting that goes on there between tribes? Or is that proxy fighters that Iran has always had that's out there doing their thing? But right now, Al-Assad Air Base was the second largest base, and one of the bases that Trump said if we leave that the Iraqis are going to have to pay for, has been hit by 10 rockets. There are U.S. servicemen and women there. This is where Mike Pence and his wife visited during Thanksgiving last year. So no word on what's happened, if there's any casualties, how much damage was done. But that's kind of the news that's breaking right now. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, and they have been, their foreign minister, Javed Zarif, said today.
Has he made U.S. more secure? Do Americans feel more secure? That's the price for arrogance, for ignorance, for lack of respect. Their days in our region are numbered. Not because anybody will take any action against them, but because they are not welcome. This is state terrorism. This is an act of aggression against Iran, and it amounts to an armed attack against Iran, and we will respond.
There you go. And they're going to respond. And they said they did. And now is it going to be the tit for tat? I don't think so. I think cooler heads will prevail. Because at the end of the day, Iran still wants to be. Look, it's always one of those things where you're looking at the school yard or the prison yard, and where's the bully, right? Where's the big tough guy? Oh, there's the big tough guy, right? So we got to get in his face. They don't want to back down. Iran's got to look tough. This isn't going to be World War III. They know what the end game would eventually look like, and they don't want that. Right? Do people in the Middle East want us out? Yeah, there are some. And by the way, there are some in the Middle East no, because their fear is what Iran's been trying to do through their proxy wars, which is spread their tentacles and try to control everything and become the dominant force there. They don't want us to leave because they know the potential of what would happen. What you didn't hear today is there was an embassy burned in Iraq today. And it wasn't the American embassy. It was one of the Iranian embassies. Because there are people in Iraq who don't want Iran doing what they're doing and meddling there. And I think we can all agree, yeah, we'd like to get out of there. Right? Can we all just kind of agree we'd love to get out of there? You're going to have to leave some sort of force behind, and one of the reasons is simply this. The what-if scenario. Let me tell you what would happen eventually, how World War III could come about. A place like that's ignored to the point where, okay, fine, where everybody's going to be in isolation. The West is basically going to say, fine, you guys do what you do. Right? We'll trade with each nation as we feel fit, but outside of that, we want nothing to do with it. You guys are all on your own. That war would break out, and eventually it would get to the point where it affected one of our allies. And then everybody's got to stand up. And then all of a sudden, that snowball effect has happened. We're not there. We're not there. And if you're Iran, yeah, you've got to look like, hey, you killed one of our leaders. And yesterday, I got a bunch of tweets and texts. Oh, this guy was, he was just another general. They've got lots of generals. He's not just another general. Right? He's not. This guy's not just another general. This guy was much bigger than that. He was in line. Many people say he was in line to not only potentially be the president, but maybe the grand leader, the man, he was there to be it, take over for Khomeini afterwards. That's how popular he was, right? That's like saying, well, Michael Jordan was just another basketball player. They got plenty of, no. There are some people you're like, that guy's got something. His charisma, his charm, he's got something that a lot of one of the reasons people like Patton back in the day is because Patton was a character. He had something about him. He'd go out there with his 6-shooter and he'd ride out to the front of lines with everybody and he'd stand up and there was something about him. There was something about this guy. The next guy may come in right behind him, but the reality is he may be a hardliner, but he doesn't have this. He was able to morph into situations where he could be on the front lines. He could be out there fighting his proxy wars, doing things, being whatever he needed to be at that point in time. And later on the night, he could be with other leaders, business leaders, other dictators and world leaders, and be in a situation where he was comfortable in either place. So he wasn't just another. But at the same time, let's be real. Not just us, but the entire globe knows who the biggest state sponsor of terror is. It's Iran. One man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. But when the other 90 quadrillion, gazillion % of the people say, yeah, no, you guys are bad, and look who you support and what they do, right? Like if we had a general that's out there today going out and doing some of the things that he was doing. I would hope we'd be like, what the hell's going on? And people would stamp up and stay. You never know. They're here with us. But this is a situation that is not going to go away tomorrow, but it's also not the end of the world, as so many people think it is. The kids were freaking out about it. They were freaking out. They thought that this is it. It's the end of the world. We're all going to have to join up, right? Right? They're all going to have to join up and fight some war, right? They were asking everybody, likes of Adam Carolla.
A lot of young people are legitimately concerned about World War III.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to the young people?
They shouldn't have to worry about it because I think they're all going to get a note from their doctor that says they have some lactose intolerant or gluten allergy and they can't fight without their service pet. So they're never going to have to go to the front line.
Yeah. And I continue to say it. It's just like when the people talk about a civil war. I'm like, only if it's an app, right? Only if it's an app. We're not going. You're not going to be drafted. But just in case. Hey, does the thought of having to trek halfway around the world to fight a war in an uncomfortable foreign land really bum you out? Are you concerned that those drab uniforms simply are going to mess with your hip urban style? You think, hey, what's all the fuss about? Isn't Iran a song from that 80s band that your mom and dad used to listen to? A Flock of Seagulls? And really, does participating in World War III just not fit into your plans of your entrepreneurial life? Well then, you need our new Conscription Draft app. It's great for somebody who just really wants to download something and fight that war from the very comfort of your own home. Plus, the fashion is amazing, with the most stylish trends in Army uniforms by Gucci, Supreme, and Hugo Boss. And when it comes to something like killing, all you have to do is just click a button and you can obliterate a whole non-English speaking tribe and even murderous military generals, all from the comfort of your mom's couch. Get the Draft Buster app now. The Draft Buster app for guys, gals, and they under the age of 30 who don't have the energy or interest in fighting for your country, but simply want something totally rad to put on your resume. Draft Buster app, not a real app. They. Got to make sure we say they, right? Because we don't want to be upset. They apparently is the word of the decade. They was the word of the decade. They. I don't know how you get that, but it's a word of the year. And there's the word of the decade. And they, people are like, isn't they been around a while? But you're not thinking of it how they now is gender neutral, right? So that's so you say they, it's not plural. Like, hey, you know, they did this or they did that. They is gender neutral. So what's not to hurt anyone's feelings? That's all I'm trying to say.
The TV war at CES is always about bigger and thinner, but while most are going bigger in 8K, LG is here showing off what may be more realistic for most consumers, new smaller 48-inch OLED 4K TVs for those who are not shopping for a gigantic TV.
New models, new features.
Over at Samsung, it's the opposite. They have a 292-inch TV that takes up an entire wall, and they're showing off large 8K TVs that are super thin, an edge-to-edge screen with no bezel.
Yeah, so if you want an HK massive TV, the highest it goes is 150 inches. So you can't get that massive TV that you were looking at. I don't even know what that cost. I mean, what do you think that, I mean... I don't know. You know what's funny is it probably cost ridiculous amounts now. And it's a wall TV. It's an entire wall. It's like 7.5 meters. That's 24 feet. 292 inches. But it's not 8K, right? So it's not. So you're not, that one's only at, you got 150 inches. That sucks, right? You're like, oh man, that sucks. Samsung also has a new 88-inch, 93-inch, 110-inch, and of course the 150-inch. So that's awesome. People excited about that. Micro LED. I was looking at it, I was like, my God. So they've also got the TV spin into portrait mode, so you can have it, and then you could put it up into a portrait mode if you would like that. Google has power assistants. Google's home apps are changing the way they're doing certain things for third-party integration. So, hey, if you're thinking to yourself, boy, I would like Google to have more information about me to give away. This would be fantastic. They've got the weird, have you seen the humanoid AI chatbot thing? That's creepy. The cats look cool. They got like these robot cats that look way better than the robot dogs. This looks real. Looks kind of neat. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet us. And if you're a gamer, Razer's Tomahawk is going to make it easier for you to build your own gaming PC. So that's going to be, they got some neat stuff there. It's always fun to go out there. A bunch of wackiness. You get to see all the big muckety mucks, and you get to see, and they've got a car out there. I think it was Sony has their first, like, it's more computer than car, but it's an electric car, but it's really, you are a moving hotspot. That's kind of interesting. But, it's like if you go to and you watch any of the fashion shows, you're going to see a lot of stuff that you're never going to see out anywhere else. But you will see a lot of stuff that you're like, I could use that. I could absolutely use that. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, fastest growing organization over 50. So if you're over the age of 50, this is it. Doesn't get any better than this, right? What are they doing? They're fighting hard for you. Common sense immigration reform? Absolutely. Medicare? I want to make sure it's still around. Oh, how about this? Right, Social Security. They want to make sure it's solvent. Other companies and other organizations are fighting, not on your behalf, but against a lot of that common sense stuff that we talked about. On top of that, they've got all the benefits you can name. Retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, travel discounts, you name it, they've got it. And they're ready for you to join today. It's absolutely free. 1 year, it's free. It's on me. It's not going to cost you a penny. Go to amac.us/Chad. That's amac.us/Chad. You can join today for free. Again, not going to cost you anything. It's 1 year. It's a free membership. It's on me. amac.us/Chad. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
So 10 missiles, rockets have been launched on Al-Assad Air Base. Americans are housed there, servicemen and women. I'm sure there's probably some contractors there as well. How significant is it? Well, let's just put it this way. Not since the Iran-Iraq war have they fired rockets or missiles or anything into Iraq. And Iran has claimed responsibility for this. It's Operation Martyr, the guy we blew up guy thing. Soleimani. I don't think that's really what it was called. That's why I don't get to pick the names. You're such a jerk. So, no, the president's been briefed. Still, it's a fluid thing. So, like a lot of these, you won't know until later what, if any, damage was done, if any civilians or any Iraqis that were stationed there, any Americans, any contractors were hurt. But they have said that they have been the ones who fired it in reprisal to what took place in the killing of General Soleimani. And so we'll see. We'll see what takes place from this. Somebody asked me, and people continue to ask me, do you think we're going to World War III? I do not. The cooler heads will prevail. On top of that, the facts that, you look at something like this, right? And I want to see what comes out in the next 24 hours, that both the Senate comes out and that they're going to get fully briefed, and we'll hear what was all going on and why they decided to move on Soleimani at that time. And we'll go from there. How many bases are they going to attack? How many people are they going to attack? How many? That remains to be seen. one thing they do know is at some point in time, it's like, all right, we hit you. We showed that we can stand up to you. And eventually cooler heads prevail, and everybody else, they'll just go do their own thing for now. Tension is rising there, but they don't want to overreach, especially in Iraq, and kill civilians or do stuff like that, because that's not going to look good either. But they want to show that they can stand up. I understand that. You'd be a fool if you didn't believe that. So, with that being said, right now, 10 rockets fired on this base. It was the second largest base, and it was, if we were to leave, this Al-Assad base, if we were to leave, this is one of the bases that Trump has said, you guys got to pay for, right? You got to pay for this base. So, I don't know, we'll see how that goes. But I don't think it's going to be an escalation like people think. Slow down. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from you. Check out the Instagram as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The Iranians are saying, according to the IRGC, is that this morning, and it's very early in the morning here, courageous fighters of the IRGC's Air Force launched a successful operation called Operation Martyr Soleimani with the code Ozara by firing tens of ground-to-ground missiles at the base of the terrorist and invasive U.S. forces. And Zarif today, the foreign minister, did tell me that as soon as Iran made a retaliatory attack, they would tell the world. They would claim credit for it. It would not be through proxies.
There you go. So they have done it. Boom. Now, what does this mean? Well, it's big in the sense that not since the Iran-Iraq war has Iran fired rockets or anything into Iraq. But it hit the base. There's 10 of them. No reports of damage or anything else. If anybody was injured or killed. It's a fluid situation. Is this it? Is this an eye for an eye? Or are they going to carry this out, on numerous occasions over and over again? They name everything, and nobody says, hey, Steve, who was in control of the drone, did a hell of a job. Think about this, though. Think about World War II, right? Think about, they wrote on the nuclear weapons. Was it Fat Boy and Little Man? They wrote on them. So, and this is all in retaliation to the killing of Soleimani, their general. Martha Raddatz sat down with their foreign minister to talk about this. And it's interesting. Again, they're pissed, and they want to show force. They don't want to show. First of all, they want to show the rest of the world that they're standing up to the evil that is America, right? Because we're the great Satan. By the way, if we left tomorrow, took everything out of there, and apologized to them, we'd still be the great Satan, right? We'd still be the boogeyman. That's what we'd still be. So that's the reality of that.
In Iran, an ocean of people taking to the streets. More than 1 million mourners, many dressed in black, grieving the death of General Qasem Soleimani. Numbers not seen since the funeral of an Ayatollah in the 1980s. Soleimani's coffin carried high above their heads. They are chanting death to America. Others here burning the stars and stripes.
And look, here's the thing. 3 weeks ago, a good portion of that country, especially a younger part of that country, did not like Soleimani for what he has done to stop protest. But this kind of, brought them all together. That will eventually fade. And we'll see what takes place here. Right? Again, we're the great Satan. Right? Now, the question is pretty simple. What do we do, if anything, from here?
He said they would not hit civilian targets. I said, does that mean you will hit military targets? He said that's what the military wants to do, but we will determine that at a future date. But again, here in Tehran, they are confirming that missiles were launched, the IRGC. I also asked him about the threat of an all-out war. He said that is up to the United States and how they respond to any retaliatory attack from Iran.
Yeah, so how do we respond from here? Well, that's going to be interesting. Is it going to be one of those things where they do a couple of these, they feel that they have, in a sense, said their piece, and it'll be tense, and then we'll focus back on the stuff that's going on here with impeachment, this, that, and the other? That's going to be the big thing, right? That will be the big thing. They want to feel like that, the like for like, if you will. And I don't want it could it get tit for tat? Yeah. Is it going to get to the point where it's going to get nasty and ugly in certain times? Yes. Are we going to World War III? No, I don't think we're heading to World War III, right? I don't. I think we're in a situation here where they feel like they need to show, hey, we're going to stand up to you. We're not going to let you push us around. Now, remember, as they accuse us of being the big pushers arounders, and we can be a bull in a China store, then make no doubts about it, right? Make no doubts about it. We have done a lot of things. I mean, I agree with Michael Moore and some of the stuff he said yesterday, but it's also just the way that he's such an apologist and all the time for everything, as if we're the only country that's ever done anything. Know this, Iran would love to dominate and take over everything, eventually kill everybody in Israel, then turn their sights onto Saudi Arabia and anybody else who doesn't want to play the game that they're playing. So we'll see what takes place. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see if they're going to try another couple things, because just like I can guarantee, right, there are people in the back channel area that are saying this is good to hit, because they don't want it to escalate further. Because let's be real, Trump, he doesn't seem to mess around. And at the same time, if it was up to them, think about this. If given their druthers and they thought they could win, they would have wiped Israel and anybody else off the map as quick as they could. That's a little scary, right? That's a little scary. So we'll see what takes place. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Mitch McConnell talking about, stuff that people were only talking about before the little winter break.
We have the votes once the impeachment trial has begun to pass a resolution essentially the same, very similar to the 100-0 vote in the Clinton trial.
Yeah. So he's moving forward, and he said, let's get all this stuff set out. Let's get these rules set out. Let's get this thing going, and then we'll talk about it along the way, witnesses and things like that. It's, Trump came out today, said the usual. It's the greatest, biggest hoax in the history of hoaxes. Nothing's ever been as hoaxy as this, and does what Clinton does. It's not going anywhere. It's still here. They still got to deal with it. Still got to be some sort of business as usual. Nancy's still not decided if she's going to turn over the articles of impeachment. But at some point in time, I think she's going to be forced to. So we'll see. It's going to be very interesting. And while they're trying to deal with this, again, we've got these missiles or rockets that have been launched. Now we're hearing there is another base that has been hit.
We are aware right now that there are at least several rocket strikes inside Al-Assad Air Base. That's the sprawling U.S. military base in western Iraq that was visited by President Trump last year around Christmas time. And up in the north, near Erbil, that's in the Kurdish-held areas, we've been told by a U.S. official that there have also been rocket attacks there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and in this part of the world, you're like, oh, was that you guys? Because there's another group that's firing too, and we got to figure. We're trying to piece it all. Was that you? Because if it was you, we don't know. But Iran said today, their foreign minister came out and said, look, we will take responsibility. We will absolutely take responsibility.
We heard 2 explosions. This was about 5:45 Eastern time this evening. In the last 10 minutes since we've been on air, we heard the sound of yet another explosion. We're hearing the sound of helicopters up in the air. So this is a rapidly developing and dangerous situation here in Iraq. And the question everyone will now be asking is, how does the United States respond?
Cooler heads, I think, will prevail. Cooler heads. 323-538-2423. You're an optimist, Chad. I am. I mean, I'm also not crazy. Let's just let it play itself out here, right? I mean, don't think for an instance, and we don't know. We're going to see over the next couple of days, and we'll hear what led to taking out Soleimani now, right? They say it's not razor thin, but it's actually much bigger than that. And the Gang of 8 heard some stuff today, and everybody's going to be debriefed tomorrow, so we should hear some of this stuff, and we'll find out, if they can see past the politics and give us the truth, which I don't know if they're capable of doing anymore, right? I know if the rights base would want to hear that, no, Trump got it wrong on this and the intelligence community failed, or if the left would want to hear they were right and Trump did something right. I don't think, it's sad, but that's kind of where we are. Now, it's like that's what we've become, is we can't even tell people the truth because we're afraid that the base isn't going to like us anymore. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. CES is going on. That's the Consumer Electronics Show. There's a lot of cool stuff there. But you know what? There's one cool thing you can get now that is amazing. It's called Raycon. Best earbuds around. Amazing. E25s. Incredible. Amazing. Going to love them. I love mine. Everybody I know that's got a pair. Got a lot of them for Christmas. They love theirs. It's incredible. 6 hours of playtime with the new E25s. Bluetooth, seamless pairing. More bass, more compact design. Hip and cool. So comfortable. Built for audio like you could not believe. Great for taking phone calls, right? It's just amazing. Noise isolating fit. You're going to love these. I know you are. Ray J did it right. There's no stems. There's no wires. Right now, save 15% off. How? Simple. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. 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 Dan Gabriel produced an amazing documentary. He's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. It's called Mosul. It's incredible. Former CIA counterterrorism officer is going to join us to talk about the craziness that's going on there and who exactly General Soleimani was and how important he was to the Iranian regime. Straight ahead. What's trending? Chad Benson Show.
Give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers.
One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Stuff. Trending. Big time. Start with Twitter. Twitter is all abuzz. Iran versus USA is trending. U.S. bases. You guys have just heard 2 bases have been hit. The Iranians are claiming that they have hit most of these bases. Al-Assad base was one of them. Tens of tens, they are saying, rockets. Significant in the sense that Iran said they were going to do this, but Iran has not fired a missile or any projectile into Iraq since 1988. So soak that up for a bit. That's significant. And it's one of those things where it's a very fluid thing. Are there injuries? Is there tons of damage? Or who was on, who's in these air bases? Is it, there is U.S. military, but is it also U.S. and Iraqi military? Is it also a situation where you've got contractors, or are there Iraqis that work inside of there? But they said they were going to do this, and they did it. So we'll see. Again, it's a very, very fluid. Jeopardy GOAT, trending big time. Is tonight, right, where the greatest of all meet? I think it is. Right? This is it tonight. The greatest of all are meeting tonight. I think the three greatest winners, Holhauser, whatever his name is. And then you have Ken Jennings. And I don't know who the other guy is. But I think they're meeting to see who's the greatest of all time. The greatest. You head on over to the world of Google. Rascal Flatts are breaking up. Yeah, they're going to do one more tour. They're going to break up so they can get back together soon and do another tour of the reunion tour. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I know, but that's kind of what happens right there. Elizabeth Wurtzel, Prozac Nation author, dies age 52. Bonnaroo announced their lineups. That's kind of like Coachella, but a little bit different, but kind of the same. Headlining. You got Miley Cyrus, you got Lizzo. So that's that excitement there. And then Joe Judge, he's 38-year-old wide receivers coach of the New England Patriots. He's been named the new coach of the New York Giants. Bruce and Phil, I'm going to throw something out at you here. The Patriots had the worst wide receiving core in the NFL. And you've just now made that guy who was in charge of those guys your head coach.
That is correct.
Solid. Solid move, Giants. Solid. Maybe he's amazing. I don't know. Right? Maybe he is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Dan Gabriel's going to join us in a little bit. And again, we are hearing multiple locations have been hit.
We are aware right now that there are at least several rocket strikes inside Al-Assad Air Base. That's the sprawling U.S. military base in western Iraq that was visited by President Trump last year around Christmas time. And up in the north, near Erbil, that's in the Kurdish-held areas. We have been told by a U.S. official that there have also been rocket attacks there.
So we'll see what kind of damage, if any's been done, and how severe it is, if there's any casualties or any deaths. It's a very fluid situation as people are waking up throughout the Middle East, and they're celebrating their retaliation to the killing of General Soleimani. You knew it was coming. They said it was coming, and the question right now is, where does everybody go from here, and what will happen?
It's a very short statement from the White House press secretary, Stephanie Grisham, who says that the administration is aware of the reports of the attacks on U.S. facilities in Iraq and that the president has been briefed and is monitoring the situation closely.
Yeah, and that's probably what you're going to get. And I think cooler heads are still going to prevail. I don't think we're heading to World War III, but they had to do something. And is this it? Yeah. We're going to talk to a guy who knows a lot about it. Knows a lot about Soleimani. Great documentary. Also a former CIA guy. Dan Gabriel joins us straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This guy knows about that area of the globe that scares a lot of people. He's a former CIA counterterrorism officer, director of one of the most amazing films. If you guys are going to watch anything that has to do with this area of the globe, the Middle East, the movie's called Mosul. Dan Gabriel joins us, and it is absolutely, it will suck you in. I've watched it a couple times, and I'm telling you, man, you guys did an amazing job on that. Appreciate you coming on today to talk about the insanity over there. First of all, how's the movie doing?
The movie's doing well. So we had a run at the Oscars. Of course, we didn't make the first cut. We're up against the Hollywood elite and the Hollywood mainstream organization like Mike Moore. Got a lot of money behind him. But yeah, the movie's performing well. We've been taking it around the country, showing it to veterans groups, and it's really well received. So we've been really pleased.
Speaking of Michael Moore, when you hear like he came out on his podcast or a podcast talking about, please and begging and please don't hurt us and we should be more like the Canadians and, we shouldn't have attacked the British when they were here and all that kind of stuff. How does that make you feel as somebody who was inside of, again, you were a CIA counterterrorism officer. You really know all of the stuff that would keep us all up at night. When you hear something like that, or you see some of these crazy Hollywood people, tweet and say some of these things, what's that? What do you feel like when you see that?
Well, look, that's the left's game, right? To blame America first. I mean, their position is America first. It's blame America first. So Michael Moore is an extension of that. He's the media arm, of course, of the left wing. And, you look at the documentaries he's made, everyone finds something different to critique about America or our culture, our values, or even in terms of our policies and objectives. So that's par for the course with these guys.
Talking to Dan Gabriel, director of Mosul, an amazing movie. You guys need to check it out, and former CIA counterterrorism officer. So let's talk about this part of the world that is exploding. The general is no longer with us, and I was trying to explain to people yesterday that I think in the short term, I don't think this is a good thing. I think we're, as far as tax and what may be coming, I think in the long term, though, this may turn out to be something good. And that sounds strange, but the reality is this guy was not your normal general. He was something much different and bigger.
Yeah, he was huge. And look, people are saying this is bigger than killing of bin Laden, and I believe it is. It absolutely is. This guy was second only to the supreme leader, the Ayatollah. He had a very close personal relationship with the Ayatollah. He led the infamous Quds Force, which is part of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It's not fair to just say that they're the special forces of Iran, but they're really the force multiplier that lets Iran punch way above their weight. And his really express goal, he was kind of the foreign minister as well. His express goal was to help build this, what they call the Shia Crescent. And that's essentially an arc of influence that extends from Lebanon down through Syria, Iraq, and all the way into the Gulf. So we've known since the revolution way back in 1979 that was Iran's intent. Of course, there's one problem: is Israel finds itself in the way there, and hence the hostilities that have engaged upon in the last 20 to 30 years between these two countries. But this is their express intent. Their objective is to get the U.S. out of the Middle East. So it's interesting here because some would say that's President Trump's objective too, and where we see this kind of overlapping of objectives. But certainly it doesn't seem like that. But it very well may happen that the ultimate end result here is that the U.S. picks up and gets out of Iraq.
You talk about what he was, and if you read and you know so much about this guy, but I've studied up a lot, and I knew who he was before this. This guy was, they call him, some people call him the Rommel of Iran. He was, again, that force multiplier. It was his personality. I mean, he had tweeted years ago. He was tweeting memes to Trump and doing things. But the way that he went about doing things, and the way that he was able, with his personality as well, to go in and to fight these proxy wars and to bring all these militia groups together it was really amazing.
Absolutely. And you mentioned proxy war. That's actually the working title of the next project, the next film that we're looking at. And we had planned this way back a year ago, way before it hit the front pages of the newspaper. But yeah, look, the proxy wars are defining, and I believe are going to define the next 100 years in the Middle East. And what we have going on is a battle between the Sunni and the Shia, between Riyadh and Tehran. And these battles are playing out all across the Middle East. They're in Yemen, they're in Lebanon, they're even in Afghanistan. So this is what's happening, and this is part of that struggle for control and influence. Unfortunately, the fault line runs right through Iraq, and that's why it's impacting us, because we've been in Iraq for the last 16 years.
Talking to Dan Gabriel, creative director behind Mosul. Just an amazing movie. You need to check it out. And he's also a former CIA counterterrorism officer. So, you talk about Iraq, and what was this guy doing in Iraq? We just had our embassy, sieged and attacked. It wasn't taken over, but it was definitely something crazy. Here's a guy who fought for a decade and a half plus against Iraq as their sworn enemy. Why is he there? What is he doing? And what kind of influence did he have in that country to help us get out, to help push us out of Iraq?
Well, let's start with the influence that he had in Iraq. So if you look at what happened actually before things really hit the fan in the last couple of weeks, the fact is the Iraqis have been protesting for about 2 or 3 months against him, against the undue influence that Iran has developed in their country. So this has unfortunately been taken off the front page of the newspaper by the recent events. But there's already tension within Iraq. Obviously, Iraq being a Shia majority country with a very large and powerful Sunni population. But the undue influence, if you will, of Iran has been something that's been a problem for a lot of Iraqis. And what we see here is Soleimani, the elimination of him, if you will. Now, he's already been replaced on paper, but as you said, he was a very charismatic and revered figure. He was able to travel freely in Iraq. That's something that wasn't the case 10 years ago. But he was able to travel freely when they got him in the drone strike. He was just essentially leaving the airport, traveling like you or I would down the road.
So here's a question. It's talked to Dan Gabriel, amazing filmmaker and former CIA guy who kind of gets it. Trump, and everybody's looking at the administration saying, show us this imminent threat. Show us this imminent threat. The reality is, you worked in the counterterrorism world. There's a lot of imminent threats that people don't talk about. I'm not trying to justify what he did or didn't do or did or didn't know, but into something like this, you move quick. I mean, how fast? I mean, when you get something like this and you've got a high-profile target, how fast does this thing have to move?
Hours. You're talking hours. Now, of course, the other part of this is the authorities to do so. So, of course, President Bush, President Obama, they both knew Soleimani. They knew his bad acts, and most likely they knew where he was or his patterns of travel. So this is something that the two previous administrations could have done, but it's something that President Trump finally chose to do.
Why didn't they do something?
I think that they felt that it would be destabilizing to the region, and whether, in fact, it would have been then remains to be seen, and whether, in fact, this turns out to be a destabilizing event that many, of course, here in the think tanks in D.C. are predicting that it will be. Also, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. ISIS, obviously you've seen them firsthand in more ways than one. Again, Mosul, check out the film, guys. It is incredible. But the reality is he did fight against ISIS. And at the same time, because of a lot of the moves he did, he also helped create a perfect vacuum and an area for ISIS to grow. So in some ways, he caused a fire and put out the fire.
That is so well explained. Absolutely, that's exactly what happened. The influence of Iran once again undermined the cohesion of the country of Iraq, and it really inflamed that sectarian tension between the Sunni and the Shia, which led to the growth of ISIS, not only in the parts of the north of the country, but across the border into Syria. And of course, then when it came time to put out the fire, the Shia, the Iranian-backed Shia militias were first and foremost in the fight and did a significant and very lethal and effective job in killing ISIS. In fact, they killed anybody they thought was ISIS.
What's it like there, man? I mean, you were there, but what's it like on an everyday, what's the average person doing, man? We got accountants here going to work. We got people like me. We got people like you. We're doing our stuff. People are getting their Starbucks going. What's it like on a daily basis? If it's not, the Shiites, it's the Sunnis fighting. If it's not ISIS, it's somebody else. What's it like for the normal person in some of these regions just trying to survive, let alone, do anything of, as far as entrepreneurial or anything.
Yeah, look, it's a way of life. If you think back to when the Iraq War kicked off, you're talking about an entire generation. An 18-year-old now would have lived with nothing but conflict since they were 2003. Even a 40-year-old would have lived under Saddam in the first Gulf War and then the second. So yeah, the unfortunate part I think about Iraq is that things were just starting to get back to normal. If we go back 6 to 9 months ago, they had just turned the corner and put ISIS behind them. And I think that's really the important part of this foreign policy decision and to see how we proceed, because we've got all the blood and treasure that's been invested in Iraq over the last 16, 17 years. And to kind of have the country slide back into civil war now, to potentially see ISIS come back, it would be really disheartening for the people that fought there and certainly for the people that live there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a place that most people, Dan, they don't understand. Sunni, Shia, your religion, we have the same religion. It's like the Baptists and the non-denominationals fighting. It's people can't wrap their heads around it in the Western world, what this is all about. And I don't think people understand that. But you talked about something. There's 40-year-olds don't know anything other than war and the likes of Saddam Hussein. They don't know anything. And I was talking yesterday about the general, the general, here he is, right, Soleimani, who is this revered general. But there is a huge age gap difference because there's a lot of people in Iran who they weren't huge fans of this guy. And the reality is while he's got a lot of followers, a lot of them are much older. And there's a younger generation that came about because that Iran-Iraq war wiped out so many of this younger generation. And they weren't huge fans of him as much as he is powerful. The reality is he also had some issues at home.
That's right. And look, Soleimani is, if nothing else, he's a product of that Iraq-Iran war, which cost 1 million Iranian lives. That number is hard for us to even fathom, but just an extremely brutal and just costly war for Iran. So Soleimani and his kind of mission objective for the last 20, 30 years has been exactly what we just talked about, to build up that Iranian proxy defense network, not at the borders of Iran, but extending out into different parts of the Middle East to make sure that the Iranians never had to face what they did under the regime of Saddam.
Last question. Appreciate you coming on. Do you look at this and view this as something good that will end up being better, or do you think this is something that could eventually see us getting out of there and just throwing our hands up at some point in time and saying, all right, we've had enough?
I don't think this action has been about Soleimani's resume, right? So we know he's a bad guy. He's got the blood of, upwards of 600 American GIs on his hands from our time in Iraq there. It's really a question of have we caused a destabilizing event from which there's no way out. And I think President Trump needs to remember that his non-interventionism, let's not get into these stupid, silly wars anymore. I think that was a huge selling point for people that voted for him. And I think that those people, we just saw Ann Coulter this morning questioning, how is this guy different than Bush and Obama? When are we going to stop getting into these silly wars? So, look, I think if this turns into, I dare say what it could be, which is a huge quagmire in a very costly and bloody conflict, then I think the history books will be closed on President Trump. But if he can take us back from the edge and use some brinksmanship here, then I think the net result will be positive. But ultimately, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, time will tell. Dan Gabriel, amazing. Mosul's the movie. You can check it out. We can get it on Amazon, pretty much everywhere now. You can see it.
It's everywhere online. Yeah, iTunes is probably the cheapest. But yeah, it's online everywhere. Amazon, iTunes, YouTube, or our website, mosul.film. Check it out. Learn more about the story and other projects we're up on.
And your new movie is going to be called Proxy Wars?
It's going to be called Proxy.
Sounds awesome, man. When do we look for that? When's that coming out?
Oh, it's probably 2 years. It takes a lot longer than I thought to make these things. So, yeah, we're probably going to be a year and a half or so.
Well, at least you use real actors and real stuff as opposed to CGI. I'm kidding, my brother. I appreciate you having on. We'll do it again, okay?
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Dan Gabriel right there, director, executive producer of Mosul. Amazing movie. If you've not seen it, it is riveting. And again, we are so blessed in this country and in the West to live the way that we do. And he knows, again, former CIA agent, counterterrorism officer, really good dude. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson, Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, the only place so far that the Mueller investigation hasn't deep probed for collusion.
Redacted! Redacted!
Stay tuned.
This is Chad Benson.
Good interview. Grab the podcast. ChadShow.com. Guy knows what he's talking about. People check. Oh, he doesn't know anything. You're right. I'm sure you've been there 1,000 times. I'm sure his movie, it's all fake, and him being a CIA counter-terrorism officer. No. This I just talking to somebody not too long ago during one of our breaks, and they're like, this guy's just another dude that was killed. And I'm like, you have no idea, right? And nor should you, right? Like the average person, you don't know what a lot of this stuff is, nor should you. There's other things that you're more preoccupied with. That's what we're here for. To know all that crap that you should know so you can enjoy other things. We'll see. Mark Esper today. We don't want to go to war. But if we have to. All I hope is that they don't bomb Hollywood, where we keep all of our military geniuses. That would be awful. Chad, that's not very nice. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. We talk about the military. We talk about all of these things. And the reality is even though you may not be in a position to serve, there are other ways that you can. And that's through the gift of giving. And that is with Wounded Paw. Wounded Paw is amazing. 20 veterans today on average commit suicide. It's a sad fact, but the reality is that is real. And in many cases, as they do new studies, that is more. Wounded Paw is incredible. They combine their love of dogs and their dedication to finding ways to help veterans, and they built Wounded Paw. Now, their mission's simple. What they do is they connect our furry best friends with our nation's heroes. Their motto is simply, to save a paw is to save a life, and it is so incredible. It is life-altering when they take these shelter dogs and turn them into service dogs for veterans, first responders, and their families, and it saves the paw and the life, and it gives both of them meaning that many of them didn't have anymore, and it's incredible. Give. Simple and easy. Turn your extra car, truck, RV, even a boat into a vehicle for change. It's simple and easy. Go to woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org, or call 844-6784-PAW. That's 844-678-4729 or woundedpawproject.org. Great tax-deductible gift. They also take cash as well. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, your Instagram. You go to the Chad Benson Show on the old interwebs of Facebook. Check us out there. And, of course, thechadshow.com has all podcasts and everything else. Check it out. Grab that podcast. Listen to what Dan Gabriel said there. It is it's eye-opening. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Do Americans feel more secure? That's the price for arrogance, for ignorance, for lack of respect. Their days in our region are numbered. Not because anybody will take any action against them, but because they are not welcome. This is state terrorism. This is an act of aggression against Iran, and it amounts to an armed attack against Iran, and we will respond.
There you go. That right there, Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif. They're going to respond. They're going to respond People ask me over the last 24 hours, you're back, you're doing all these things, and you've been looking up. I've been talking to a ton of people, my sources in certain places, and let me tell you what I think. I think this makes us less safe right now. Somebody agrees with me, Rand Paul.
Safer or less safe?
I think that's a good question, and I think the stated purpose by the administration was that they were going to prevent attacks on Americans. But I think if you ask the question now, is it more or less likely that there'll be attacks on Americans? I think it's much more likely. The replacement for Soleimani is basically a clone, somebody who is a hardliner who's worked with Soleimani for 20 some odd years. And so while Soleimani may have been plotting attacks, and probably was, it's now a certainty that there will be attacks in revenge for his killing.
Yes, but long term, it's going to be safer. And I'll tell you why. Here's the thing about Soleimani, that you can replace him with a hardliner. You can do all of those things, right? Like the next person up, right? Kind of thing. You know what you can't replace? Who he was. His attitude, his personality, especially when you talk about leaders in a military capacity, right? They followed him. They loved him. There was something about him and the way that he was able to almost be chameleon-like, to bring together all of these proxy militias, the way that he was able to not only do that, but also he can be there fighting the fight, because that's one of the reasons they loved him. When he got into military, he thought he was going to be there for 6 months. And he was there his entire career, his entire adult life. He was fighting something. But he also had a personality where he could be in the same room and he could charm world leaders. And even though they were despots, he could. And then he could be down on the ground. And they respected him because he did fight side by side with them. He was that kind of person. And he was able to go and to bring all of them together. You can replace him with somebody who's hard line all you want. But do they have that it factor? And while the short term, no, it's not good. The long term effect, it's going to be tough to replace what he brought. That is that it thing, that the long-term thing, if you will, that the new guy isn't going to have. He just isn't going to have. Does this speed us up getting out? I hope so. I think we'd all like to get out of there, right? I mean, can we just all admit we want to make sure that we protect our allies? And we do have some interest in there, and we do not want this to become one of these situations where it becomes World War III because nobody paid attention to it. And by the time it got to the point where it was so ugly and so nasty, it was too late. That's one of the reasons. Trump said something the other day, and again, I'm not a fan of what took place. I think, and I'd still like to see all of what they have, the information, all of that stuff. They talk about the imminent threat. But the reality is, one of the reasons we're in some of these places is because if nobody pays attention and then they start to, it's that snowball effect, and then it becomes too big. And then everybody gets dragged back in a way that nobody wants to be in. I mean, think about the war on terror. Everybody knew what was going on in Afghanistan. They knew all of those groups that were there. And by the way, for all the Taliban and the Al-Qaedas and all of the other things that were training there, how did we know? Well, because many other organizations that were Western terrorists also went there and trained and learned and shared their knowledge about. So everybody knew what was going on. But by the time anybody started to pay attention to it, it was only because it was reactionary. But yeah, who the hell doesn't want to get out of these things? Right? Never-ending war, money that we continue to waste. And we have this belief that many of these countries want what we have. They don't want what we have. They don't want the freedoms that we have in the way they want freedoms in the way that they want it. They want their country in their image, in a sense of this is their belief system. These are the Constitution, the values that they want to live by. That's what they want. And are we going to accept those things? Right? You've got the Sunnis and the Shiites, right? And the difference, by the way, the difference between them is not religious. People think it's a religion. It's not. It's political. When they broke up like 1,400 years ago, whatever it was, it had to do with who was going to take over for the prophet. Like that was their thing. It was a political move. Oh, it was? Yeah. It was politics. See, the Sunnis are like most, but it's like 90%, 85% of the world, the Muslim world, is that? The Shia is centrally located. It's right there, right? So it's Iran, it's Iraq, it's Lebanon and Yemen and Syria. It's centrally located. And there's only about 200 million compared to 1.6 billion. So it's crazy. But we think that they want what we have. They don't want what we have the way that we have it, right? They want to build something in their image, and we need to stop trying to go out and do certain things. Yes, we need to protect our interest. We need to protect our allies. But nation building has always failed and continues to do so, and it wastes our time. I was with Trump when he said he wanted to get out of these things, and I'm all for that. I don't want to be an isolationist, right? And everybody's like, well, we shouldn't be the policeman. No, we are the policemen of the world, and I don't have a problem with that. Here's the thing. Police don't live at your house and try to change everything. They come, they break it up, they regulate, they leave. We will always be, as long as we're a power, the thing that people turn to in time of need or before things get out of hand. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from you. A lot of stuff to get to today. A lot of stuff, including more on Harvey Weinstein. And, man, what a scumbag, right? Like, the more I read about some of this stuff. But you know who's on top of it? Ronan Farrow.
It appears they're taking something of a similar approach. Whether or not there's an additional charge of predatory sexual assault, they certainly at least will be bringing in other character-type witnesses. They've asked some of my sources, for instance, would they be willing to testify, even though those sources didn't have incidents in their allegations that took place in that jurisdiction.
Yeah, and that's something, I was talking last night to Becky Lynn, the woman I work with when I do my show out here in Phoenix, and her and I were chatting, and finding a jury that has no knowledge or understanding of this, and then bringing in people from all over and trying to figure out what this case is about, and that's got to be the hardest thing, right? And you think about this too. If you're a juror in New York, and then you're hearing they're filing charges on him in Los Angeles, and you may be in that pool that they're interested in talking to you, even though you're supposed to be working on a specific case where you're going to be the juror for, it's hard in this day and age of instantaneous news not to think to yourself, and you're bringing other people in that may not have anything to do with this particular case, try to paint a certain picture. So, man. But it is tough, right? Like, she asked me last night, she says, could you? I said, no, I could not be a juror because my mind, unfortunately, is made up. Now, I could look at the case on him. I could look at a singular case and maybe say, well, I don't find that there was that. But I think there's enough cases out there that, yeah. I'm just saying. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. It is still nasty and ugly in Australia, and it is not getting any better. Let me tell you how bad the fires are and how big they are. Twice the size of Maryland is what's currently about 14 million acres is burning. That's bigger than New Jersey, Vermont. It is massive. And here's the other thing. They have arrested, get ready for this, they have arrested some 25 people charged with lighting fires. I was like, excuse me? You arrested people? Yeah. 185 fires that they set? What in God's name are people thinking? It is scary. It is, right? Like it's crazy. Nuts. How big this thing is. And the pictures are just absolutely terrifying. And the weather is getting to be nasty again.
As intense flames still scorch parts of Australia, at least 4 people are missing and at least 24 are dead. New South Wales police charging 24 people for allegedly setting some of these bushfires. An airline passenger spotting pyrocumulus clouds over the weekend, essentially fire-induced thunderstorms. Lightning from those storms starting new fires.
That is ugly. That is just ugly. You manage the damage that you've done, the animals, the millions upon millions of animals you've killed, on top of the human lives that we won't know about probably for weeks and maybe months. Just absolutely horrific. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from every single one of you. You can text the program as well. Maybe we should drone Harvey Weinstein. Could you do that? Is that bad? Would anybody go, oh, that's horrible? Oh, Chad, that's not very nice. Hey, you know what is nice? MyPillow. You know what's really amazing? They're amazing new towels. Extra soft, super absorbent, luxury feel and look, 5 designer colors. And when I mean soft, it's a good soft where it's super absorbent. Sometimes you get those towels and they're super soft, but then you try to, dry off and it just doesn't really do anything. The towel doesn't absorb it. Not with these. The best cotton, no fillers, U.S. cotton right here, no cheap softeners, 60-day money-back guarantee. Cotton, 100% USA cotton. 30 by 56-inch bath towels, 16 by 30 hand towels, washcloths as well. Huge, huge introductory offer right now. You can save up to 30%. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com. There's a new radio listener special. You click on that, you enter promo code Benson, boom, you start saving. Cruise around, see all the other awesome stuff in there as well. Or call 800-983-4975. Use that promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Experiencing separation anxiety? That's dumb. Check out Chad 24/7 at his website, ChadBensonShow.com, and on iTunes, free. The Chad Benson Show. Never feel lonely again.
The TV war at CES is always about bigger and thinner, but while most are going bigger and 8K, LG is here showing off what may be more realistic for most consumers, new smaller 48-inch OLED 4K TVs for those who are not shopping for a gigantic TV.
New models, new features.
Over at Samsung, it's the opposite. They have a 292-inch TV that takes up an entire wall, and they're showing off large 8K TVs that are super thin, an edge-to-edge screen with no bezel.
Yeah, that's interesting. They've also got vegan pork, because that's where we're going with that, vegan pork. So you got vegan pork, which is that, I don't even know how that, again, I don't get the vegan pork thing. It should just be imitation pork, right? It should just be taste, because it's not pork. It's like, it's fakey. Would you like some faking? That's awesome. Oh, man. How much faking did you have today? I'll take a faking burger. Oh, my Lord. Yeah, that's all the stuff you get now. CES isn't just a thing it used to be. You get together, right, and everybody'd sell their, this is our new TV, it's our new video game thing, and now everything is broken off, right? So video games got their own thing, and they still have some of the consoles and stuff out there, but now it's TVs. Oh, by the way, we've got pork, and you've got the dolls, kind of dolls I'm talking about over here, and you've got this, and then you've got that, and don't worry if you like a toilet. And here, look at this, it's an ice box. It does all of these things. You've got a laundry, the whole laundry setup now with the washer and the dryer, and they're all smart. Like, oh, my God, it's nuts. It's crazy. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Love hearing from each and every one of you. If you were in Illinois, guess what happened?
Several marijuana dispensaries had to close their doors Monday in Illinois, with some owners reporting strong demand causing a shortage of supplies and an exhausted staff. Illinois started the legal sale of recreational cannabis on the first of the year. On that day, customers shelled out more than $3 million and over $5 million over 2 days. Michigan made recreational marijuana legal on December 1st and took in more than $3 million in the first 2 weeks of sales.
By the way, Illinois and Michigan are two of the states in the newest study that if we had, by Moody's, if we had a recession, they're two of the 4 states that would suffer absolutely the most out of a recession. You know, Seattle, I mean, you know, big cities like Seattle and San Francisco and Los Angeles keep those states healthy even during bad times. Even a place now like Phoenix, you know, and Arizona that struggled during the last recession and was one of those states. The economy's so strong that even if a recession came, they're not going to collapse. But Illinois and Michigan, you guys are going to need your weed, is all we're trying to say. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from you. You can text the program as well. Ricky Gervais getting hammered by everybody and loving it. He loves it. When you say horrible things about somebody like Ricky Gervais, he laughs because he got the reaction he was hoping to get. He'd rather get that reaction from you than a laugh from somebody else. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The full Senate will be briefed on Wednesday. I expect that committees of oversight will also conduct hearings, and the senators will have plenty of opportunities to discuss our interests and policies in the region.
Mitch McConnell, they're battling back and forth because the strike on Soleimani was it legal? Was it not legal? Right? A lot of questions there. You know, for all the stuff that you hear about, you know, today I think they're up to, is it 50 or 80 people are now dead at the funeral because of the crush of people and people being trampled on, not since Ayatollah Khomeini when his funeral. Has there been anything like this? But there are people there that are frustrated with Iran, but you don't hear anything about that. New York Times had something today. Nobody's talking about that. One of their embassies was stormed and burned and everything by the Iraqis because they don't want that influence in their country. It's you know, I want to know about it. I think a lot of people would like to know about it, right? What exactly is this all about? What kind of information did you have? We're curious. I think a lot of people are curious, right? Not just politicians, but the American public is curious.
I've become increasingly alarmed about the strike, a strike that was carried out with insufficient transparency, without consultation of Congress, and without a clear plan for what comes next.
Yeah. And I want to know, you know, Mark Esper comes out and he says, you know, we don't want to go to war, but if we do, we'll finish. It's like, shut up. Again, we're great at getting in war. We're even good at winning a war. To the point where if we left, we'd have been like, hey, we won. The problem is we never leave and it becomes never ending. It's like a cricket match that never ends. We may keep piling on runs, but there doesn't seem to be an end in sight. But I will say this, before we condemn, right? There's a lot of stuff. People say, why are you a homer for Trump? I'm not a homer for Trump. I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't. Told everybody that 1,000 times. I don't have derangement syndrome. I think the Republicans have failed miserably, and they've allowed him to take over the party. In saying that, I do like some of the stuff he's done, and I'm not going to condemn before I see. And a lot of people, especially not just the elites and the whack, there's a lot of people out there in this day and age who they look at everything now so politically that no matter what the other side does, they come out and defend it. And the fact is, you go and look at some of the people that have condemned Trump here when the shoe was on the other foot for Obama and his drone strikes. By the way, he droned the hell out of a lot of people. So I want to let you guys know that. Well, he gave people more. He didn't always give people warnings, right? He didn't. Some people say, well, and they'll come and they'll damn this president and our intelligence agencies, and they would celebrate if it was Obama and vice versa.
Unfortunately, in this toxic political environment, some of our colleagues rushed to blame our own government before even knowing the facts, rushed to split hairs about intelligence before being briefed on it, and rushed to downplay Soleimani's evil while presenting our own president as the villain.
Yeah. What happens, right? So let's say tomorrow the Republicans look up and go, man, Trump didn't have squat. This is just ridiculous. This is manufactured. Should be all over that. What happens? What do the Democrats say if they go in there and the intelligence is presented to them? They're like, whoa, we were unaware of this. You think they're going to come out and go, upon second and further review and third and fourth review, this was something that was deemed necessary? No, because in politics now, and Trump has taught us everything, you never apologize, right? When it comes to this, you won't. And because of red versus blue, they won't. They won't apologize. They won't say they were wrong. They won't. They'll just come out and continue to battle over and over again. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. For all this stuff going on, we've got a debate a week from today. Still don't hear a lot of stuff about healthcare that I want to hear. I still don't hear the things that I think a lot of people, the average person, is looking at. Want to make sure the economy stays red hot, right? We want to make sure the economy's roaring. We want to make sure that we've got things like healthcare that are reasonably priced. And there's a great report out about the cost of healthcare and what we pay for bureaucracy. And this is the thing that I don't think people realize. The bureaucracy side of it is absolutely insane. $2,500 per person on average in 2007 was paid for by administration costs. That's 4 times more than Canada and their single payer. Is that insane? Right? They say if we cut it now, right? If we were able to cut this to where Canada is, not cut it completely, but down to like 550 per capita, we'll save $600 billion. The average American is paying for more than $2,000 a year for useless bureaucracy. And it has to do with little things like coding, right? The medical billing and coding thing. Well, you went in and they coded it like this, but over here it should have been coded like this. They start battling on the coding. On top of that, the government and everything else requires more paperwork. It's nuts. It's the surprise billing and the frustration and all of the craziness that goes with it. People want to hear about it. This lady on TikTok is hilarious as we talk about all this stuff. And she's on, if you guys don't know what TikTok is, it's a way that the Chinese are getting into the American marketplace in a way through our children that's crazy. But it's, you go on and you do your little thing, your little video. It's kind of just, it's interesting. Kids love it. Like everybody, oh my God, the TikTok. And it's It's like Instagram in a much different way, and it's about little videos, and it's nuts. But this lady's on TikTok talking about ways that you can cut your bill down. And I was talking to somebody today, my buddy Lloyd, who's got his bills. I said, did you ever ask for an itemized? He goes, no. I said, you should. You should.
Y'all like the debt, and I got plenty of it. You go to the emergency room, you get a bill for $1,000. The very first thing you do, other than calling and asking for a review of the level of care, while on the phone, while they're doing that, you also say, I want an itemized bill with every single charge. Now, what they're going to do on the back end of that, because they don't want you to know that they've charged you $37 for a fucking Band-Aid, they're going to take that $37 charge right off of there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. $100 for a aspirin. So when you start itemizing it, they'll take some of it off or they'll cut it down. And see, for them, when they cut it down, they're making money, right? So they say, okay, we're going to charge you $100 for an aspirin. We're going to charge you $1 for an aspirin. And you're like, well, I still think it's ridiculous, but whatever. They're going to take that loss of $99, though. Oh, yeah. It's a game that's being played. Most people don't. I mean, you go in and you negotiate. That's why people who go in and negotiate bills and stuff, they save huge for a lot of people.
Before they send you the itemized statement, any of those stupid charges, they're going to take them right off. Generally, my bills go from $1,000 to $750. They take about $200 off just for stupid shit. And all you have to do is ask for an itemized bill with every charge. And they're going to take those charges off because they don't want you to know that they're charging you $37 for a f***ing Band-Aid. And guess what? That's how much they charge for a f***ing Band-Aid. So when you actually can say, you charge me $37 for a Band-Aid, they don't like that.
Yeah. No, they don't. $100 for this, $100. It's like, and that's like when we're talking about government bureaucracy and administrative costs and all these things. What do you think happens? Think about government now. How many agencies we have that are duplicate agencies. You have to fill out this to get that. Everybody back there's got a pension and they're making God knows how much money and they can never be fired. What do you think what happens if we get rid of private health care, turn it over to the government and government run health care? Do you think those costs go up or down? Oh, yeah, never thought of that. Something to think about. Because as those costs rise, while you're not paying for anything, your taxes will rise. Whether it's your income taxes or other taxes that will hit you in your pocketbook. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Kids are freaking out. We're talking about it. How much kids are freaking out about World War III? You know, what was the website that crashed, Phil?
The Selective Service website.
Selected Service. It was like kids. Some people misread something, like it was this bizarre, like fine print about a draft, and people started freaking out. You know, and it was something had to do with loans or something, you know, for student loans, and people just lost it, right? Oh, my. It was a free application for federal student aid. It was fine print. Next thing you know, it spreads like wildfire. Here's some of the anyone assigned the sex of male at birth who is between ages 18 to 25 is required to register for the draft. Eligible citizens required to register within 30 days of returning 18. Immigrants must register within 30 days of entering the U.S. Right? And so they go through this thing and people start freaking out and losing it and thinking, oh, my God, they're all going to get, you know, we're all going to, this is it. We're going to war. We're not going to war. Everybody settle down. And first of all, we can't go to war unless it's an app. Can we just all be real about that? Younger generation, it's got to be simple as possible. Case in point. Hey, does the thought of having to trek halfway around the world to fight a war in an uncomfortable foreign land really bum you out? Are you concerned that those drab uniforms simply are going to mess with your hip urban style? You think, hey, What's all the fuss about? Isn't Iran a song from that 80s band that your mom and dad used to listen to? A Flock of Seagulls? And really, does participating in World War III just not fit into your plans of your entrepreneurial life? Well then, you need our new Conscription Draft app. It's great for somebody who just really wants to download something and fight that war from the very comfort of your own home. Plus, the fashion is amazing, with the most stylish trends in Army uniforms by Gucci, Supreme, and Hugo Boss. And when it comes to something like killing, all you have to do is just click a button and you can obliterate a whole non-English speaking tribe and even murderous military generals, all from the comfort of your mom's couch. Get the Draft Buster app now. The Draft Buster app for guys, gals, and they under the age of 30 who don't have the energy or interest in fighting for your country, but simply want something totally rad to put on your resume. Draft Buster app, not a real app. Yeah, so there's that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Hey, if you've been listening to the Chad Benson Show for a while, you know I take my Super Beats. I'm going to go work out, as I do every single day. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes in the evening. When I do, I grab my Super Beats and go. I work a lot. A lot. Sometimes putting in 16, 18 hours, and I love what I do, but I do need my energy, and that's where Super Beats comes in. Super Beats soft chews are amazing. Great for heart health, right? Delicious, absolutely, but great for heart health. New breakthrough ingredient, which is grapeseed extract. It supports normal blood pressure, circulation, and natural energy, and I need all of those things. Who doesn't? The grapeseed, right? It's sourced from the Lorraine Valley in France. It's incredible, and it's clinically studied to shown to support healthy blood pressure levels. Boost your heart health right now with on-the-go Super Beats Soft Juice. Get your Super Beats Soft Juice today at superbeatsradio.com/Chad. When you buy 2 bags, they throw a third one in for free, and it tastes delicious. Superbeatsradio.com/Chad. Superbeatsradio.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
I, you, he, she, it. Lucy is a girl.
Point of personal privilege. Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Shut up, boo. Ain't nobody got time for this. This is the Chad Benson Show.
By the way, did you see that the word they is the word of the decade, apparently? I'm like, really? Are you kidding me? It's just, we've lost our mind. We have. We've lost our mind. I think the rest of the world that would love to destroy America is probably like, they're going to do it to themselves. Yeah, they, used by gender-neutral people, is the word of the decade, according to the American Dialect Society, where voters also selected my pronouns, such as she, her, he, him, or they, them. You're being a jerk, Chad. I'm not being a jerk. It's funny. We can laugh. Well, you can't. Why can't you? Other phrases, the phrase, see, here's the thing. So if you laugh at they or them, they, them, or she, him, or whatever, right, that everybody's, oh, that's rude. But okay, boomer, right, won. And I'm like, describing, couldn't that be seen as a slam? Because you're making fun of somebody older? Okay, boomer. They. So a word that's been around for a long time that has now been changed to something else, another meaning, is now the word of the decade. We're eating our own. I'll tell you that right now. Producer Phil, I got a question for you. You like sushi, am I correct?
I do like sushi.
Tuna King Kiyoshi Kimura spent $1.8 million on a 608-pound bluefin tuna. That seems a little high.
Depends on how much you can portion out of it. Hopefully he'll make his money back.
So he's like the sushi king. He spent $3 million on a 612-pound Pacific blue tin in during 2019's New Year's auction, because apparently they had this huge auction, right? He plunked down $118,000 for 440-pound tuna. And in 2013, $1,760,000 on almost 500-pound tuna. And I'm like, oh, what exactly? Like, how much do you get out of that? How much, like, because you think to yourself, it's like, well, your whole job is like, is this the lure to get people into your tuna?
I have have any idea how much you can get out of it.
I wouldn't even know how to tell the difference. And I like tuna. It's the one fish I will eat. I don't know why. I'm weird. Let's just deal with my weirdness, okay? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Text the program. Check out the Instagram as well, kids. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show.